Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In today's video, we are practicing our fractions. Now, this is a review video, so we're just going to quickly go over 2 examples of adding, 2 examples of subtracting, and then a couple examples of multiplying and dividing. As always, I am human. If I make a mistake, please let me know where the mistake occurs so that way I may learn from it. Let's get started. So when you're adding, the one thing you need to know is they need to have common denominators. If they do not have common denominators, you can't do anything with them because the pieces that you are adding are not the same size. So for example, let's do example 1. If I have 2/3 plus, let's do 5/4, and this is a improper fraction, the numerator is greater than the denominator, that's okay, it's just an example. The easiest way to do this, typically we do the least common denominator, least common multiple, things like that. I'm just going to show you the easiest way, but that means you do have to simplify your answer. So you're going to take this denominator, you're going to multiply top and bottom of the fraction diagonal to it by that number. You're going to take the other denominator, which was 3. You're going to multiply top and bottom by the opposite fraction, the other fraction, by that number. And so what we have here is 2 times 4 divided by or over 3 times 4 plus 5 times 3 over 4 times 3. And so that gives us 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 5 times 3 is 15, and we have 12. Now that you have common denominators, the same thing on the bottom, we can add the stuff in our numerator, which is the things on top. Now, the denominator, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, doesn't change when you add. So what I mean by that is 12 and 12 is in the numerator. 12 and 12 is in the denominator, so we don't actually change that 12. That 12 stays in the denominator. What does change is the stuff on top. I have 8 plus 15. Again, the 12 stays. Nothing happens to the 12 once we have common denominators. But the top portion, what we're adding is we are adding 8 plus 15, and that equals to 23. Now at this point, you can simplify, if you can, right? You want to have your answer in simplest form. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to do a quick thinking bubble, and I'm going to list out my factors of 23 and my factors of 12. So 23 is 23 times 1. 12 is 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 times 2, which is 12. And I don't have anything in common. I have a 23, a 1, a 2, 3, and 2. There's nothing in common, so this is simplest form. Let's try to do another one. I'm going to have, let's do 4/5 plus, let's do 3/8. Again, take the number, the numerator and the denominator. You're going to have that be multiplied by the opposite fraction. So this is the 5. I'm going to multiply 5 top and bottom here. Now the next one I have is an 8. I'm going to multiply top and bottom here. And so that gives us 8 times 4 is 32. 5 times 8 is 40. Plus 5 times 3, which is 15. And 8 times 5 is 40. Again, the denominator just carries over, nothing changes. But 32 plus 15, that equals to 47. And again, simplify if you can. And that does not simplify, so that would be our answer. Very similarly, we have our subtracting. The only thing that changes with subtraction is now you got a minus. That's it. That is it. So we have, let's do example 1 for subtraction. Let's do 1/2 minus 3. I'm trying to think of a good one. Let's do 3/4. Now this is an example where you will need to simplify because we're not doing the method of the lowest common factor. So I'm just going to take my 4, I'm going to multiply top and bottom. I'm going to take my 2, I'm going to multiply top and bottom. So that gives us 4 times 1 divided by 2 times 4 minus 3 times 2 divided by 4 times 2. Now 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 1 is 4, minus 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8. So again, we're just going to carry over our denominator. 4 minus 6, 4, 5, 6 is 2 with this negative. So you can always, if you're subtracting, you can change this into a plus negative. You can do it that way if it helps you. Now again, we have to simplify this fraction. So let's look in here to our factors. 2 is 2 times 2. We do have one negative. 8 is 4 times 2. However, we have 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I have 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I have negative 1 times 1 is 1. And 2 times 1 is 2. Oh, excuse me. Did you guys see that hiccup? There was a hiccup. I'm like, that's not right. Let's erase that. 2 is not 2 times 2. That equals to 4. I only have 2 times 1. I don't know where my 4 came from. So that means I only have 2 divided by 2, which means I am left with 1 on top, negative, and then 2 times 2 is 4, so I have 1/4 left over. This is negative 1/4 as my final answer. Let's do that one more time since I did have a hiccup there. Example 2. Let's do 2/5 minus 1/3. So I'm going to multiply 3 and 3, and I'm going to multiply on the opposite side by 5. So I have 2 times 3, 5 times 3, minus 1 times 5, 5 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6, 5 times 3 is 15, minus 1 times 5 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15. Again, bring over the 15, bring over the denominator. 6 take away 5 is 1. Again, you can add a negative, and there's nothing for us to simplify here, so we keep it as 1. Now for the multiplying, dividing, let me shift my paper higher here. Multiplying and dividing. For multiplying, all you have to remember is across. So if you have, for example, 2/3 times, let's do parentheses, a lot of times you'll see parentheses, times 4/5, what you do is you multiply across. 2 times 4, 3 times 5. So 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 5 is 15, and simplify this fraction if you can. When you are dividing, you're remembering KFC. You're going to keep your first fraction. You're going to flip. So keep first, flip second fraction, and you're going to change division into multiplication. Ran out of space there for the word multiplication, but that's okay. And a lot of times what you'll see, you won't see the actual division symbol. You'll see a fraction divided by a fraction like this. You'll see like 3/4, and then you'll have another fraction underneath that, as in, let's do, I don't know, let's do 5/3. And so what you're going to do is you're going to keep your first fraction. You're going to flip your second fraction, And then you're going to change this division into multiplication. So let's go ahead and write that out. We're going to keep your first fraction, which is 3/4. You're going to, you guys can't see that, I apologize. Let me shift that up. You're going to flip your second fraction. Why flip? I mean, take the reciprocal. So now 5/3 becomes 3/5. And you're going to change this to multiplication. Now, how do we multiply fractions? We multiply fractions across, meaning 3 times 3, 4 times 5 is what we have. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 5 is 20. Simplify this if you can. If you cannot, that is fine. All right, beautiful people, that is our brief review of fractions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!